Welcome! My name is Danelle. I am an artist. I have been an oil painter for many years, and in the last few months I've been experimenting with doing a lot of plein air sketching and painting. I've been trying some new mediums like acrylic gouache. I've been delving into watercolor, which I've done very little of in the past, so that's been really fun. If you'd like to see some of my hike and art vlogs, feel free to subscribe. I do those every week. And so it would be fun to have you join this community. This week's art is almost entirely paintings, acrylic gouache, some watercolor, and one oil painting. I do have one painting that is missing from this week's art tour. And I missed the chance to film the preparation for that painting to enter in a local art exhibit. So I will show you a picture of that painting. I was just in a hurry. I needed to get it to town to turn into the Arts Council. So I'll show you that painting though. I do have a photo of it. I also entered an in plein air oil painting that I did several weeks ago. A little bit later, I have a couple questions for you about the best way to frame pieces that are painted on paper, like a watercolor or gouache painting, and the canvas panel boards. Those are the two that I put in the show. One was a watercolor on paper, the other one was an oil painting on a canvas panel. And I wasn't really sure how to frame those, so I'll have a couple questions for you about that. I have a new set of brushes that were gifted to me, so I'll show you those. Let's get into the tour. This one is the first one that I did this week. This is an oil painting I did on a creek that is along one of our trails. If you are interested in seeing that vlog, then check out the card up above. And that was really fun and interesting. I'll put a photo alongside of what the original looked like. I was really focusing on getting these darks in here first. There's just a big mass of forest back here. A lot of the challenges here are that we have a very dense forest everywhere, so capturing the dark greens that are in a myriad shades of green to make it look interesting and lively in these dark kind of areas that are a bit gloomy, don't have much sun, is always a challenge. I was fairly happy with this one. I actually kind of like this tree trunk. This red was kind of needed to be a complementary color to all of this green. I did, this is one of the challenges in plein air, I did start running out of my yellows, so I was trying to get this tree to be a little bit brighter, but I think in the end it turned out okay. It's nice to have this man-made structure here to just kind of give the painting a little relief from all of the foliage. And here is an acrylic gouache painting I did. And this is at a location where I did another vlog a while ago. I'll put a card up above if you want to watch that vlog. And this painting, I actually kind of like the way this turned out. It is a lot of green. Just a hint of some reddish in here to, again, give some relief to these greens, the complementary colors. But this was a sunny day. We've finally had some sun this past week, so that's been really nice because a lot of my works do tend to be a little bit darker just because of the lack of sun. It usually has a very heavy cloud layer, but this was a very beautiful day. I have been enjoying the acrylic gouache more and more over time. At first it was kind of hard to make friends with it. I wasn't sure exactly how to use it. I was approaching it like oils, which is fine. You do need to start, it's an opaque medium, so you do need to start with your darks and then build up the lights. That was fine, but with oils I will tend to put paint on my brush and then work into the colors on the surface, and it seems like acrylic gouache tends to get muddy really quickly when I do that. So I think I'm doing a better job of getting fresher colors. Here is another acrylic gouache painting that I did that I, again, was fairly happy with this. It's pretty bright. It was a sort of partly cloudy day, so I did have some sun. I'm pretty happy with the way that I painted the beach. I feel like I captured that pretty well, and that's always a challenge. We have a lot of this gold rockweed on top of the rocks, and then we have the actual bluish slate rocks, and so and then little patches of sand and some algae. So I was pretty happy with the way this one turned out. It was really fun, and I've been delighted that I'm finally getting some acrylic gouache paintings that I'm actually happy with. And here is a watercolor that I did the other day. I'm not really delighted with this composition. I was trying something different. I thought it'd be interesting to put the horizon line up here on the top third, just kind of following the rule of thirds. But this big wash of just plain water is a little bit boring. I tried to capture some of the reflection of the trees and the color of the trees in there. There's not really any actual shadows of trees. This is a little island. This island actually is the same island as in this painting. It's just from a different direction. Again, this is a sunny day, but I'm happy with how bright it is, and it has some clarity. I didn't overwork it. The watercolors are really fun. I always use this, not always, but almost always I start by drawing in with my permanent ink pen first, and then I put in the watercolor. These are all done pretty quickly. They're done on my morning hikes. I take a hike every single morning, and I don't want to take too much time. I need to get to work, and my dogs get impatient. So these are all done pretty quickly, in 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes if I'm pushing it. This is one I did on a trail that's not terribly picturesque. It's just grown over with a lot of salmonberry shrubs, and there's just this very dense woods back here with small Sitka spruce. There's these alders, which have a very pale bark, but are covered with a lot of lichens and moss. And this background isn't terribly interesting, but I did it quickly. I put in, the fire ring was actually a little bit over here. It's very, very old. Nobody's used that in years. But I kind of freshened it up a little to make it more interesting. I moved it over to give the scene something a little more interesting in the foreground. Again, this is watercolor with waterproof ink pen. And this is actually kind of amusing. I was a little annoyed at the time. This is acrylic gouache. And we sat at the base of this waterfall. There's like a creek, and then it has kind of a series of like a really small waterfall. It comes over, comes down. Very thick trees back there. And the painting turned out pretty chaotic. And then to make it worse, I forgot to bring the little box I use. It's a kind of a wet painting carrier that I made out of a cardboard box. I displayed that and talked about it in my last sketchbook tour. I'll put a card up above for that one if you're curious how I made that. I just made it out of a cardboard box that I modified. I forgot it that day, so when I carried it back, it was sandwiched under this watercolor paper I had with me, and the watercolor paper took a lot of the paint off. But I wasn't super delighted with the way this turned out. It was pretty dark. So when I got home, I decided I wanted to try again. I try to always take photos when I'm out so that if I get home, I can maybe retouch a painting or even completely repaint it. And a waterfall scene, it's hard for me when I'm out in plein air. It is difficult. I get so distracted by all of the textures and the lights and the darks and the chaos of the running water that I decided, I looked at the photo and then I did a value sketch where I just sketched in the dark, the mid, and left the light tones so I could have a little more idea of how this scene looked. I'll put a photo here so you can see how this waterfall looked in real life. And then here is a photo of the final acrylic gouache painting that I did, and I was so happy with that is one of the two that I framed for our local Blueberry Arts Festival exhibit, which will open in a little more than a week from now. I'll get a little bit of footage at the opening so you can see that. That'll be fun. And this was a longish hike that I took that is up on a ridge top. There's a big lake on one side where tourists take canoe trips, and it's very popular with local jet skiers. But on the other side of that saddle, we like to sit here up high on this kind of muskeggy open ground. It has a very orange, mossy kind of surface. It has some of these white dead trees here. And then way down below is Wolf Lake, and saltwater's over here. When I first finished this, the lake was popping up too much. You couldn't really get a sense of the distance. And I'm not sure that it's a lot better now, but, well, it is a lot better now. I'm not sure if it's perfect, but I later, a few days after I painted this, I darkened this water to help kind of push it back a little bit. But I'm happy with the composition and the colors. It's pretty lively. This is watercolor with waterproof ink pen, yet again. Here's one that I did yesterday. The lighting at this location was really, really bad. The sun was pretty much coming straight at us, so this whole scene looked really hazy, so I had to almost kind of make up colors. And you can see I ended up with quite the rainbow of colors. This is watercolor with the ink pen again. There's some foxglove flowers here. This pinkish area is right under some electric transmission lines. So they went in a few years ago and clear cut this whole area. So there's piles and piles of dead, very grayish, whitish. It's felt to me they're picking up some kind of pinkish cast. These grayish whitish trees that are dead that lie along there. And then this is the trail that we walked on. And then these are some pretty big mountains in the background. The mountains probably are a little bit too purple, but I was just having fun with color. And so that's this one. And this is the acrylic gouache painting I did today. And this is at Ward Lake. I did a hike and art vlog there. I'll put a card up above for that one. I sat in a little bit different location today, and I was pretty happy with the way this one turned out. I decided that I wasn't in a big hurry to get home, so I could take a little more time, so I tried to be very careful to get in these darks and to get the composition correct. I used my little rule of thirds viewer to make sure that I had the composition right. I often will have problems where I'm really interested in, let's say, this shelter, and it ends up way out of proportion, or the trees look so huge they end up completely covering over the top, and then there's just this big blob of dark up here. So I try to be very careful with my composition this time, so I'm pretty happy with the composition. I think this one turned out okay. This one probably took me about a half an hour to paint. And here is a set of brushes that was gifted to me by my daughter's fiance. And I haven't really researched this brand. I am not really sure what these are made out of or anything about them, actually. I don't have, it had 2 fan brushes in here. I never have used fan brushes. I never plan to use fan brushes. But it's got this palette knife, which is nice because I only own these 2 palette knives. This is one that I've owned for probably almost 40 years. And then in the last month, I ordered this one because I want to paint more with a palette knife. So I wanted one that had a little sharper tip for getting in details. And this one's kind of in between, so that'll be fun to have. I'm really not sure what these bristles are. They're pretty soft. They're almost like watercolor bristles. I did use one of the brushes for one of the paintings, and they're fairly soft. I love these filbert shapes. I use them a lot. I think I used one of the flats. So this will be fun. This is a lot of brushes. I don't really love the feel of the handles. They're almost like a raw wood. They do have some finish on them, but I don't know if I can get used to that. But I do like the bristles. These are going to be nice for acrylic gouache, which is a little softer than oil. I probably won't use these with the oils. The short handles, I usually don't use short handle brushes in the studio, but those are very portable for my plein air out on the trail. So that'll be fun. I hope you enjoyed this weekly art tour. I have fun seeing everything that I've done all in one place. Tomorrow I'll be filming my newest trail and art vlog, so hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, so you don't miss any of those. I think they're really fun, they're fun to make, and I think people are enjoying those. I'd love to have you as part of my community. And I almost forgot the question. If any of you know the best kind of frames to frame watercolors that are on paper or canvas boards, if there's a certain brand of frames or a certain way to frame them, the acrylic gouache painting that I framed, I put under a glass in a frame that had glass on it. I wasn't sure how to affix the paper to, I used some printmaking paper that I had that's really nice paper to back it, and then I just taped the watercolor to the front of it and then sandwiched glass on top of it. I don't know if that's the best way, and I don't think the tape that I used was acid-free, so that's probably not good either. If you have some tips on inexpensive, easy ways that are also archival and better quality, let me know. I've always just framed oil paintings before. I don't think I have any oil paintings behind me, but those just sort of strips of wood that are nailed onto the sides of my frame. So this is kind of new, so I'd love to hear your tips, your thoughts, brands, links to places to find frames. I bought these frames from Jerry's Artorama online. We do not have an art store here, so it's difficult because I can't pick up the frame and look at it and kind of judge the quality and whether it's going to work. The panel, the oil painting that was on the canvas panel board, I was able to just pop the glass out of the frame that I bought and then just put the canvas panel right in it and then put the backing board on it, and it was ready to go. So that one was pretty easy. Anyway, thanks for stopping. Stay creative and have fun.